Good morning. I am live here in Nashville, Tennessee, where it's February and it feels like May. We are having the best weather I can remember in February in a long time. So let's jump in and talk about these questions. We got questions this week, so that's fantastic. This is from Emily Ember. Hey, Emily. She says, what makes a good marketing person? How do you know you have hired the right marketing person for your business? Now, Emily has Alliance Virtual Solutions. It subcontracts virtual paralegals and virtual legal assistants to law firms. And I worked with Emily briefly. And this is, Emily, you know you have a good marketing person when they generate business for you. If at the end of 30 days you don't see progress towards that goal, you need to move on. In 90 days, if they haven't generated business for you, actually created business for you where you get money for it, then you pick the wrong marketing person. And so many entrepreneurs pick the wrong marketing person. They think, oh, I had 122 hits every day on my website, but nobody bought anything. And marketing is designed to drive business, not make you popular on social media, okay? The second question comes from Christine Ans. Hey, Christine. She asks, how do you go about a rebranding process? I'm a residential realtor with Keller Williams. I have my own brand with Keller and need help knowing how to best brand it and market it. I have a team logo. So I'm no branding expert, and that's a better question for our marketing guru. But I do know that when you're rebranding, you're changing the image of what you've done. And there are severe rebrandings where you rebrand yourself with a different product and service. And then there are rebrandings where you're offering the same service and you're just changing your look and your approach and your message. So you have to decide which one of those it is. And I can't tell from this question. And also, then you need to look at what other realtors are doing that are successfully marketing and rebranding themselves. A good one to look at in Nashville would be Gabby, G-A-B-Y, Lira, L-I-R-A, and just see what she does on social media and start following her on social media, and you'll get an idea of what rebranding is really like. And by the way, Gabby, last 2 years made over $1 million in commissions net. So she's a good one to follow. Now this is from Alex Wilkins. Do you recommend laying off seasonal employees or paying them during the slow times? The business. We are a seasonal landscape business that suffers during the winter time because I have never really put together a winter business. We have one employee right now and I try to get work for him, and I do, but it's inconsistent. So he wants to know, should his business support a full-time employee when they don't have the business and income and revenue to pay for that employee? My answer to that is no. But you've got to fix that, Alex. You've got to figure out a way to generate business all year long. I don't know, hang Christmas tree lights on people's homes when it's cold. Find a business that you can do in the winter that keeps you and your people employed. I don't know a better way to say it. You just got to figure out a business that generates revenue all year long. And there are plenty of landscape companies out there that are doing services all year long. And if you're not committed to your area, you might consider moving to some place where it's nice all year long. There are plenty of landscaping opportunities in Florida and Georgia and Alabama and Mississippi and California and Arizona, southern Texas, where you can work year round and you don't have to worry about that. But the real answer is figure out what you can do year round to generate revenue, and then you don't have the employee issue whatsoever. So this is a question from Sherry Moore. Hey Sherry, what is the best minimal cost way to get prospects into my sales funnel? I have a self-publishing service company where I help leaders produce quality books. So I met with Sherry when she was at the retreat in Nashville at Sean's house. And Sherry has a difficult business because she's trying to help people self-publish a book. So she needs to figure out a way to identify people that are writing books. And I don't have a good answer for that inexpensively. I suppose if you put ads on self-publishing websites and self-publishing blogs, that would help. Another way you could do it, I'm sure, is to write self-publishing articles and self-publishing blogs to promote your own name and image. But again, you're asking me an advertising question, and I don't really know the answer to that. I do understand that if you find the prospects, you can get on the phone, call them, make a sales presentation, ask them to buy, and that will make your business successful. But finding the prospects is what you're trying to do, and you're looking for a low-cost way to do it, and I'm not really sure I have a good answer for that one, okay? We talked about this, Sherry. Lysandra Wilson, what are strategies for combating budget objections from clients and better conveying the value of my product? I have a baking business and specialize in custom cakes and dessert tables. When customers inquire about cakes, I give them price quotes and design options. Even with that, they often feel the cakes are too expensive or didn't know that cake design they originally inquired about would cost as much as I am quoting. So there's a lot of ways to deal with the price objection in selling, and this one I can really answer well. So first of all, there's something in selling called the price buildup. So go back to when I was selling books door to door. Before we told the customer the price of the books, we said, now the best thing about this is the price. You know, Mrs. Jackson guessed they'd be over $100, and Mrs. Stevenson said somewhere between $80 and $100 for a set of books like this. But actually, they're just $49.95. That's reasonable, isn't it? And so that's called the price buildup, where you set their expectations before you tell them the price. You set their expectations by saying other people thought they were much more than what you're going to tell them they are. And also you set the price expectation by saying the best thing about this is the price. So in your world, it might go something like this. You know, Ms. Jackson, the best thing about this is the price. We do all the work. We design the cake. We bake the cake. We get the cake to you. And a lot of people guess that would be $50 to $100, but actually it's just $39.95. Okay? That's kind of how you would do that. And when you're talking to them about the cake, you can also talk to them about all the costs that are involved in a positive way. You know, so many people have been excited about getting cakes because they realize that the cakes we bake haven't gone up as much as other food items like eggs and milk and even meat. But when you see the final cake, everybody feels like it's a bargain. Stuff like that. Do you see what I'm saying? Okay. Send me some information about your cakes. Maybe I can help you sell some cakes. Lysandra Wilson, how can I be more organized in and with my business, especially when managing different orders and client projects such as weddings and large parties, as well as business documents, contacts, etc.? I have a baking business specializing in, it's Lysandra again. Okay, so Lysandra, you just need to hire a coach to help you, an entrepreneur coach. That's just all there is to it. You know, and maybe you can't afford an entrepreneur coach. So if that's the case, you need to Google these questions about administration and organization and all of those things, because there's plenty of good answers there. And this iChat app will give you answers to, if you can get on it. I've been trying to get on it. It's a pretty busy application or website. But anyway, those are the kind of things you need to do for questions like these. I mean, this is saying, how do I run my business? I mean, all those questions are really saying, Tom, how do I run my business? And it's like this. You do it by experimentation. You do it by talking to other entrepreneurs. You do it by reading articles all the time. You do it by trial and error. Okay. Yeah, there are plenty of softwares that help with organization, but I found that you don't really need them. Think about it, 20 years ago, before all these software products were available, we were running business successfully. We were doing it with paper and pen. It's not the most efficient, but you can do it without a software. I work with one accountant and her company. She thinks she's got to have a piece of software for everything, or she just can't do it. And that's the wrong attitude. You don't spend your time looking for software to make your job easier. Spend your time selling something to prospects who can buy. Okay? The next question is from, sorry about that. Next question is from Emily again. What makes a good marketing, oh, hold on. Hang on. Okay, that's all the questions that we got. For some reason, I printed out 2 pages of those, but Sean asked me to answer 3 questions, and I want to do that this morning, okay? One is, after I've developed my product or service, what would you do to get to your very first profitable 6 figures as fast as possible? And what do you think is a reasonable time frame to be able to accomplish getting to 6 figures? I know this varies based on whether I have a physical product or a service-based business, but please share your thoughts for either or both scenarios. So you've developed a product or service and now you have to sell it. To get to 100,000 the fastest, get a prospect list. You need a prospect list, 200 names, phone numbers, location. And then you need a phone script. You need to know exactly what you're going to say when you call them on the phone. And you're going to call them on the phone to set up an appointment by phone or in person to explain your product or service. Then when you go on that appointment, you're going to have another script. And it's going to follow a proven process for sales. It's going to say, hey, where are you from? How long you been here? Where were you at before that? That's called rapport building. Then it's going to have a needs assessment where you're going to ask the prospect questions about, what their needs are in terms of your product or service. Then you're going to explain your product or service, and then you're going to say the next step is for me to create a pricing proposal. The next step is for me to create a implementation plan. The next step is for me to present something with the price in it. And then you do that, and then you say the next step is for us to get started. When would be a good time to get started? When could we get started? Would it be better to start at the end of February or the 1st of March? You ask the obligating question. And, that's the way every successful startup I know began. They had their product or service, and they began selling it to individuals. And that starts with a prospect list. If you're an entrepreneur without a prospect list, you're basically unemployed. That's all there is to it. Okay? Second question Sean asks is, after I reach my first 6 figures in annual sales, now I want to get to $500,000. What should I be focused on now to get there? So far, it is just me and the company, or me and maybe a virtual assistant. Okay, now you're at 100, you're going to 500, okay? First thing you got to do is get everything off your plate that is not revenue driven. So look at a time management sheet, look at a time management article, look at a time management book, read it, and then follow those directions. Because at the point between 100 and 500, the biggest challenge for an entrepreneur is time management. And every morning the entrepreneur who's trying to grow his business should be saying, is this the highest and best use of my time at this time of day? Is this the highest and best use of my time at this time of day? For example, between 8 and 5, you should be on the phone or meeting with people in person. There's no other better and higher use of your time than meeting with people or being on the phone. People that sit in their office for 2 hours between 8 and 5, look at their computer or do research on their computer or send out emails, don't really want to be successful as an entrepreneur between 100,000 in revenue and 500,000 in revenue. Just that simple. And then as you continue to grow, you need to continue to outsource, buy back your time, I call it. You need to buy back your time by hiring other people to do the things that are not the highest and best use of your time. Okay? And then third, now that my company has reached $500,000 in annual sales and I have a few people working on my team, could be 1099, W-2, as the business owner, what should I be doing to scale to the first 1 million in annual sales? Where should I most be focusing my time and attention? Okay, so now you want to go to from $500,000 to $1 million. Okay, you have to not take any more money out of the business than you've been taking out. First of all, I know people they get to $500,000, they're making a good living, they want to pay themselves more. This is not the time to pay yourself more. This is the time to push that money back into the business, and usually you push it back into the business in the form of people. You know, you try to hire more people. And so what can I say about that? You just keep, you just look for good talent, and then you get rid of bad talent at that point. You know, a lot of companies never get to $1 million because they got bad people. They work with their wife or their cousin or their nephew, and they're just not good, and they can't fire them. So if you can't fire them, don't hire them. Get great people, and the better people you can get, the better and faster you'll grow. And don't be afraid to pay up. If somebody says to you, I need $5,000 a month, and you're thinking $3,000 a month, say, Bill, I can pay you $5,000 a month, but only for 30 days. And then if you prove yourself and you generate revenue, which will pay for yourself, then I can keep paying you $5,000. Hell, I can pay you $10,000 if you keep producing revenue that will pay for yourself. Okay? Don't be afraid to pay up for people, but also don't be afraid to ask people to make that payment worthwhile. Okay? That's the best advice I can give you. So, thanks for tuning in whenever you listen to this. If you did listen to it, I appreciate it. And Sean, those are great questions. And Sean, I wish you would send in more questions, frankly, because some of these entrepreneurs really, I don't even think know which questions to ask. And that's okay. That's why they're in the group. All right. Talk to you later.